All right, today we're going to give your business a quick health check, but we're not checking its blood pressure. Nope. We're diagnosing the health of your inventory, which is pretty much the financial lifeblood of your company. Let's find out if it's in top shape.
So here's the big question, right? Is all that stuff sitting on your shelves a valuable asset that's making you money? Or has it secretly become a liability, just quietly draining your resources? The answer isn't always what you think, and it all comes down to its health.
So let's go ahead and start the examination. We're going to run a few simple diagnostics to check the key metrics that'll show us what's really going on with your stock.
First things first, we have to check the vital signs. These are the absolute fundamentals, the numbers that tell us how efficiently your inventory is working and, more importantly, how it's hitting your cash flow. You know, the first question in any health check is all about circulation. And for a business, that means asking this: how fast are the products sitting on your shelves actually turning back into cold, hard cash in your bank account?
Well, we measure that with a metric called inventory turnover. You figure it out by taking your cost of goods sold, that's the direct cost of the stuff you sold, and dividing it by your average inventory. It basically tells you how many times you sell through your entire stock in a given period. Think of it like your business's metabolic rate. How fast is it burning through inventory and turning it into cash?
Now, here's where the diagnosis gets interesting. If you have a low turnover rate, it means your inventory is sluggish. You're probably overstocked, which means cash is tied up, and those holding costs are just eaten away at your profits. But on the flip side, a really high turnover, while it might look awesome, can be a red flag. It could mean you're running so lean that you're constantly at risk of stocking out. It's a real balancing act.
Okay, so a related vital sign is something called days of inventory outstanding, or DIO. This metric just flips the turnover rate into a number that's super easy to understand: days. It tells you, on average, exactly how many days a product sits on your shelf before someone buys it.
And here's why that's so crucial. The lower your DIO, the faster your inventory is turning back into cash. A low number means your money is out there working for you instead of just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. Okay, vitals are checked. Now it's time to diagnose the symptoms. These are the really clear signs that tell you if your inventory is helping or maybe hurting your relationship with your customers. And we've got to start with the most important perspective of all: your customers. When someone is ready to give you money, how often can you say, "Yep, got that right here for you"?
That ability is measured by your service level, sometimes called your fill rate. It's simply the percentage of customer orders that you can fulfill immediately right from the stock you have on hand. A high service level, that's the sign of a really healthy, responsive inventory system.
The flip side of that, of course, is your stockout rate. And this one is so important because it quantifies every lost sale and every little bit of lost customer trust. It measures how often you're forced to say, "Sorry, we're out." And that is a symptom you just can't afford to ignore.
All right, so beyond the customer experience, there are two major financial pain points. Let's start with the problem of having too much. What's the real hidden cost of just having too much stuff flying around? This is where carrying cost of inventory comes in. It's a brilliant metric because it makes all those hidden costs totally visible. See, it's not just what you paid for the item. It's the cost of the warehouse space, the insurance, the capital that's tied up, and the risk that it'll go out of style or expire. This is the constant, quiet drain that's caused by overstocking. And then you have the other great pain: having too little. This is where you look at your backorder level. This metric doesn't just tell you that you had a stockout. It actually quantifies the scale of that unfulfilled demand. It shows you exactly how much business you're pushing off, or maybe losing for good. So we've seen the symptoms, things like stockouts and crazy high carrying costs. But, a good doctor doesn't just treat the symptoms, right? They dig deeper to find the root cause. Why are these problems happening in the first place? Well, a lot of the time it starts right here: inventory accuracy. Your entire system runs on data. And if what your computer thinks you have doesn't match what's actually on the shelf, then every single decision you make is flawed from the get-go. As you can see, even a small 5% inaccuracy can totally infect your whole operation. Next up, let's look at strategy, because not all inventory is created equal. You've got your cycle stock, which is the stuff you need to meet normal everyday demand, and then you have safety stock. That's your expensive just-in-case buffer. Finding the right balance between these two is a huge strategic decision that directly hits your costs and your service level. But what's the ultimate root cause? The big one.
It almost always comes down to forecast accuracy. This is the brain of your whole inventory system. How well can you predict what your customers are going to want? A bad forecast is the underlying disease that leads directly to both big problems: having way too much stuff or suffering from constant stockouts.
All right, our examination is complete. Let's pull all of these findings together, create a complete health profile, and then write a prescription to get your inventory into peak condition.
Now, if you want to go for an even deeper diagnosis, you can track things like obsolete inventory that shows you how much of your cash is literally dead on the shelves. Or you can use something called an ABC analysis to focus your energy on your most critical items. These are powerful tools, for sure, but the vitals we just covered are the essential starting point for absolutely everyone.
So, here it is, your prescription. First, you've got to balance the speed of your inventory turnover with the safety of a high service level. Next, you have to listen to the signals your customers are sending you through stockouts and back orders. Then, know the true total cost of holding your stock. And a big one, trust your data, but verify it relentlessly. Finally, get better at your predictions. Improving your forecast accuracy is the ultimate way to prevent these problems before they even start.
At the end of the day, it really boils down to this simple truth: what gets measured gets managed. What gets diagnosed gets cured. These metrics we talked about, they are your diagnostic tools. And that's our checkup, so I'll leave you with this question. After everything we've covered, what is the very first vital sign you are going to check in your business?